we can get those, we can support those species and get them off that list of SGCNs. So what we ended up doing was, in Texas, we decided if there is sufficient evidence to say that it's declining, or we don't know enough about it to know if it's declining, we're going to call that an SGCN. And then Fish and Wildlife Service approved that action plan. So if we had said cardinals and raccoons were SGCN, they would have rejected it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
In that TCAP, the document.
The TCAP?
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things I was reading about it was, especially for West Texas, that's what I read in the paper about, that there was an issue with windmills and wind farms and passive migratory birds. How do you balance that where it's one good thing for the feature versus another?
Yeah.
That was an issue.
Yeah, it's a good question. Did y'all hear that question? Okay, so the TCAP, the purpose of that document is not to choose sides. It's to identify which species are we concerned about or should we be concerned about it. So we didn't have to say wind farm good or bad. What we had to say is here's this new threat, and we're concerned that it might impact this suite of species, so we're going to put it on our list so we can use money to study it. It may be that it's okay, but how do we know that unless we invest money in their research? Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you talked a bit about professional organizations like the Wildlife Society, American Fisheries Society, National Wildlife Federation. How would state agencies like Parks and Wildlife, or whatever state you're in, how would they go about implementing these professional organizations into implementing the state action plan?
Okay, let me give you an example.
Or would they be used? Would you?
They would. Let me give you a good example. Okay, Parks and Wildlife has their fingers in a lot of different projects. We can't do everything. So there's an organization called the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy is really active in wind farms along the Devils River and West Texas. They want to preserve the beautiful vistas and the sensitive ecosystems of West Texas. Parks and Wildlife does not need to be wading into the political fight of wind farms, right? As you said, right? This is a divisive thing. So the Nature Conservancy, we're leaning on them to tell us the big threats. And so when we do the action plan, when we go out every 5 years to get input, we're going to go to them and say, okay, we're writing the West Texas section. What are you concerned about? What do you see on the ground that scares you? And they may say, we're concerned about the tricolored bat. We're concerned about the, this bat, cave myotis, all this stuff. And we say, how do you know? And they say, here's the research we've done. But we didn't do that research. We didn't fund it. If we didn't go to them, we had no idea what the concern was, what's been done, how do you know it's in danger, how do you know it's declining. And so we lean on those partners to fill in the gaps and give us their input. There's some people that are so passionate about grassland birds, that's all they work on. So they read and they study and they monitor. Well, we're barely keeping afloat with all the work we're doing. So we go to them and say, hey, we're doing the section on grassland birds. What do you think about this suite of species? And they say, Parks and Wildlife, that looks good. You're missing 3. Which 3 are we missing? Boom, 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 boom. Why do you say that? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's add it. Sometimes we say, hey, we're concerned about, I don't know, the lesser prairie chicken, right? And all of our groups say, no. Look at all this science that says the lesser prairie chicken is doing better. Oh, should we take it off? Now it's a healthy conversation. So we really lean on our partners to inform what species go on that action plan.
So you'd be using them similar to research institutions, like getting them
research, but also cultural. So like Coastal Conservation Association, the CCA down on the coast, they're out there, their guides are catching fish all day long. So public outreach, but they have eyes. It's not research, but they have eyes. They're actively using the resource. And if we say, let's add this fish, and they say, whoa, if you do that, that's going to screw up our business. So we have a conversation. It's all about balance. And so we rely on all that information. It's not just a science, it's a cultural discussion as well. Yes.
Is this sort of going from fall used for an invasive species?
Mhm.
Do feral cats count as an invasive species?
Wow, you just went right for the jugular, didn't you? I'm teasing. So it depends how we spend the money, right? So maybe we'd write a proposal to get rid of feral hogs, to get rid of invasive aquatic organisms, to get rid of, maybe shut down the invasive plant trade, right? All those are very easy political, science-y things, right? Would we spend money on feral cats? Honestly, I would want to, but no. But you know what I would do? I'd hire more urban biologists to help guide municipalities to prevent the feral cats from being established in the first place. If we spend $1 million on feral cats, it'd make the newspapers that still exist, it'd be all over everywhere. Parks and Wildlife killing feral cats. What do you think just happened to my $57 million? Gone. The state legislature would shut us down. So we would do things like education. We'd put in place urban planners in the cities. We have a proposal right now, ready to go. We don't even have the law yet. I've written the proposal to have urban planners embedded in city municipal governments that have wildlife degrees. So now I'm not some wildlife biologist from the outside. I'm implanting wildlife biologists into the fabric of the government and the city planning, so that when they approve those developments, maybe they put in rules. Hey, this is over a sensitive cave environment, no feral cats. We're going to allow this business to change their zoning if they do this for caves, if they do this for gold-cheeked warblers. So no, I would not directly attack the feral cats, but I'm going to go at it from the sides. Yes?
Kind of going off of her question, could money be spent towards like spay and neuter programs? That's kind of like a roundabout way to control the feral cat populations. Could you see something like that being used? Or?
Spay and neuter is part of a program called TrapNeuterRelease, TNR. And in the time that I have left, I cannot cover TNR programs properly. The Cliff Notes version of it, the short version, is that TNR programs don't alleviate the threat to wildlife.
Okay.
It keeps that, it doesn't even work, but theoretically, it keeps the cat population constant. Theoretically, science, we know it doesn't work. But if we keep the cat population constant, they're still eating birds, they're still killing native wildlife, they're still putting toxoplasmosis in our watershed, they're still killing harbor seals and the sea lions in California with the toxoplasmosis. So I would say no. Yeah. Yes?
You mentioned like you wanted to double or triple your workforce with the money you get
Mhm.
from this. How are you going to pay? Like, is the money going directly to paying these people's salaries and whatnot? Or is that
It is hard for me to explain how much money $57 million is. It is okay, so my program, I have 9 biologists. So actually I have 13. So let's just do the math. Let's just, for the sake of easy money, easy math, each biologist, let's say they make about $50,000 a year. I have 13. So what is that? About $650,000 a year in salary. So 600,000 compared to 57 million, yes, that money will go towards salary. We're going to hire more people. We're going to give that money to other organizations to hire more people, to do research, to do invasive species management. And the great thing about that is, let's say a land trust spends $1 million a year on habitat acquisition and monitoring with their staff. And they come to us and they say, Richard, we spend $1 million for SGCNs right now. Can we use that to match any RAWA money? We say, sure. If you let us use, which is just on paper, use your $1 million as match, we'll give you $3 million to keep doing the same work. So now they turn their $1 million into $4 million with one proposal. And then they'll use that for people, equipment, travel, operating. It's all about doing the habitat management. So yes, a lot of it will be used for people. Did I answer your question, or did I go a different direction? Okay. Let me go to you, and then I'll come over here.
My question was, what's the number one opposition that y'all run into?
The number one opposition, honestly, not much. They say, well, what's the money being used for now? And I say it's just being used to fund the federal government. And all the Congress people that we've talked to have not blinked. When we say 1.3 billion, they don't blink. They go, okay, because they know that it is so expensive to restore these species once they become endangered. And so they know that this is a drop in the bucket. There's some people that say it doesn't go far enough, like Defenders of Wildlife, but nothing goes far enough, ever, right? Nothing ever goes far enough. So we have to start somewhere, and this is the bill that's getting traction. Yes, sir.
I was gonna kind of ask the same question, but I was kind of wondering, like, the reason like it won't get passed, is it more like political decisions, or like one organization like kind of like stopping it, holding it up? Like, let's say like oil and gas companies, they don't want people coming into the land because they want the land to be able to like get all the oil and everything.
Are you asking me potential, or what is the opposition?
I guess potential, like who would be the biggest opposers?
Nobody's against it. Nobody's against it. Nobody has said this is, except Defenders of Wildlife, and we've talked about them. They wanted to do more. Well, so do I, okay? The main obstacle to getting it passed is momentum.
And are the people involved in it?
Well, enough people are involved. We just have to build so much fever around it that it has to rise up on their radar. And the more we get it on people's radar, there's a marketing slogan. Coca-Cola uses it, McDonald's uses it, a lot of corporate America uses it, and the strategy is nobody buys your product until they see your ad 7 times. The first 2 or 3 times, they don't even register as an ad. Then they see your new hamburger, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And you see it 2 or 3 more times, you're like, huh, they're really pushing this hamburger. And then your friend says, hey, I had that hamburger, you should try it. And then what do? You try it 7, 8 times.
So like if you got like more people, let's say like social media thing, if you have more like influencers that decide to like, I guess people that are not really for wildlife exactly, like associations, but associations with like figure out, you could like do like famous people, like famous people.
Yeah.
I guess like gaming is like big now.
Right.
Them to like actually on their platform.
Yep.
That's probably even more.
Sure. It'd be another one of those 7 touches. Then your strategy, your decision that you have to make is, do I spend a lot of time trying to get that gaming influencer to give my message? How much work will it be to get that gamer to push my product versus this organization over here that might already be in my wheelhouse? Now, if you know the gaming influencer and it's your brother, your buddy, or whatever, then that's 1 phone call. But if I were to try to get a gaming influencer to do that, it would take 7, 8, 9, 10 contacts. So the question is, who do you know? And what is your network? We all have a network. And then your network, who can they influence? Yes, sir.
Generally, 90% of streamers are gamers or streamers. And so one of the easiest ways would probably be able to donate like $10, $20, and basically send them a message while they're streaming, and they read it live. And so basically they would read the message, like if you said, can you talk about this or something like that, they would read it live, and so everyone, 30,000 people who are watching it currently would hear it as well as them.
Yeah, that's great. So then my question to you, and it's not a bad idea, I know nothing about this world. We can educate lots of people. We're trying to get people to make the phone call to their congressman or woman. So my question to you is, will the audience of that streamer pick up the phone call? Pick up the phone and call the congressman to say, vote for HR 3742. If the answer is yes, then that's a worthwhile investment. If the answer is no, then I would say, what can you do in your network that's going to result in phone calls to that member of Congress?
So let's say they have 20,000 people watching them. If 5% of those people were to call, is that a worthwhile investment?
You tell me. This is your project. What do you think?
I think it is.
Okay. How much would you or your organization be willing to fundraise to make that happen? Yes, ma'am.
Just kind of bringing it back. Do you have a specific species that comes to your mind when you think about rawa? Like something that you personally would like to see? Bobcat?
Bobcats are not an SGCN. I just geek out about bobcats. Who am I talking to? Am I talking to people your age or older people?
Just, I want to know what would you like to see change?
I want to build a horned lizard factory. So Pittman Robertson, y'all remember that? You know, the very first project, Pittman Robertson project #1 was a Texas deer project. I want Rawa project #1 to be a Texas horned lizard project. I want to build a factory for $500,000. $500,000. I could build 114 factories, right? I want to build one. I want to crank out horned lizards, and I want to dump them all over the state. How cool would that be? They shoot blood out of their eye for crying out loud. They're awesome, and nobody hates them. In fact, if you're talking to someone 50 and older, they'll say, oh, I love horned lizards. They used to be everywhere. What happened to them? Well, would you like to bring them back? Yeah, I would love to see them again. I want my grandkids to see horned lizards. Here's what you can do. I use that all the time. When I'm talking to someone that's 50 or older, I say, you want to bring them back? Make one phone call. Let me give you one more example, and then I'll come to you. We were talking to a congressman from Fort Worth, and by we, I mean me and my network. Okay, we're all kind of supporting and strategizing about how to reach this congressman. And his aide said, I think I can get the congressman to vote for to sponsor the bill, but he needs to hear from his district that his district supports it. Can you generate 3 emails in the next week? Is this how democracy works? 3 people? You're serious? 3 people. Yeah, I need 3 people to make a phone call. Yeah. So we got 3 people to make a phone call. A week later, he co-sponsored. It doesn't take hundreds of people. Sometimes it takes 3. In fact, let me give you another example. We had a college intern working for the Alliance, the Texas Alliance. They all went to DC. We paid for her way to go. They had appointments all day long, and she happened to walk by her representative. This is a college intern. She said, hey, that's my representative. And she said, she kind of joked, she said, maybe I should go in and talk to him. They said, let's go. They walked in, said, yes, I'd like to talk to the congressman about a wildlife bill. Well, of course, the congressman's not available. So she talked to his environmental staffer. 1 5-minute visit resulted in a co-sponsorship. This is not, let me give you another example. We had trouble reaching a congressman in San Antonio. Democrat, very environmental based, just never rose to his radar, right? Tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and we couldn't get on his radar, couldn't get him to co-sponsor. So I called a friend of mine in San Antonio, my network, just a friend, and I said, hey, we've been having this trouble. She said, hey, I know his mother. Okay, good for you. And so she called his mommy and said, why hasn't your son co-sponsored this Recovering America's Wildlife Act? 20 minutes later, his office calls and says, we'd like to schedule a visit about Recovering America's Wildlife Act. Mom. Sometimes it's the one person that you know that can influence the one person that she knows to get the co-sponsorship. And you don't even have to say, I'm lobbying for. It's, let me tell you about this awesome opportunity. I promise to go over here, and then I'll come over here. Yes, ma'am.
For the cost of division education, when would you actually start with that? Because you're talking about the research that's going on in Shell, so how would you bring that out to the public?
How would I spend money on education? First thing I would do is I'd look for existing programs, and I'd bump up their capacity. Texas Wildlife Association reaches 50,000 school kids a year. I'd go to them and I'd say, hey, can we triple your program? And here's $1 million to do it. You think they'll say yes? So I'd go K through 12. I'd fund nature centers. I would fund recreation-based activities and put signage to talk about these birds of concern. I would do video content. I'd hire 5 or 10 video producers to start cranking out videos to excite people and educate them about these SGCs. And then I'd also get these kids out in nature. Summer camps, bird watching camps, wildlife programs, and get them engaged, get that emotional and personal contact. And then I'd have another $56 million to spend, so that's where I'd start.
You talked earlier about birding tourism, this is like way earlier.
Yeah.
Do you think RAWA would help, like indirectly, ecotourism in Texas?
The question is, would RAWA help ecotourism in Texas? We are hearing a resounding yes. We've had some cities contact us and say, hey, we heard about this bill. We want the city government to call our member of Congress. So when the mayor calls, the local rep, the local congressman, you think he takes his phone calls? Yeah. So it does work, because what happens is they see, hey, if we have birds, unique birds, lots of habitat, these bird watchers are gonna fill our hotels and our restaurants all winter long when the spring breakers aren't there. So down in the valley, McAllen, Harlingen, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Rockport, big spring break destination, those hotels are empty in the winter. Guess who fills them? Bird watchers. Also, those parks departments want money for bird blinds, boardwalks, trails, parking lots, infrastructure so people can enjoy nature. So absolutely, they crave it. What if we were able to give them a wildlife biologist to monitor all their bird watching destinations, and then that person would monitor and remove invasive species and restore the habitat for those bird watchers. And then we're sharing the cost. Maybe the city's paying half the salary and RAWA pays the other half. Now we're improving habitat and doing education and knowledge. Yes.
So how do you see RAWA impacting the future of your job and other jobs in Texas Parks and Wildlife? You mentioned like you're gonna have to hire a lot more people. Do you think that's gonna be the greatest change, is just more job availability?
The greatest change is that we all have ideas. Every one of you have ideas on what you want to do or what you want to see in this world, as do we. And all of a sudden, we're going to get this big check of $57 million, and it's going to be like, holy crap, what do we do now? Like, how do we prioritize all these fantastic ideas that may cost $500,000, $10 million, $15 million? So my biggest challenge is wrapping my mind around suddenly being able to do all the things we want to do. And then what scares me is I can't spend all that money myself. I gotta lean on partners. And then I have to work with partners. I gotta talk to you to make sure what you want and what I want are the same. And that takes a lot of coordination and planning and relationship building, and it takes time. My biggest concern is I don't have enough time before I die to do all the good things I wanna do. And I'm only 43. I get another 40 years. So that's my biggest, like, what's gonna happen if this actually happens. Let me go over here and I'll come over.
Would any of that money go to like incentives for like private landowners? Because I know that's like.
A lot of it has to go to private landowners. Texas is 97% privately managed. So if we want to have the greatest impact, we have to find ways to partner with private landowners. As an example, pronghorn. One of the biggest problems with pronghorn is they're confined with fences. We did some research, we funded some research to see if we lifted up that bottom strand of barbed wire, does that help the pronghorn move across the plains more easily? And it does. So what if we parceled out $1 million incentives for landowners to lift up that bottom strand of?
But there's a reason those strings there.
Right.
So that would negatively impact somebody else. How is that going to be dealt with?
So most of the time, that strand is there because that's just how they've always built fences. And so if they have a cow-calf operation, we know that you can lift it up so much without letting that calf get through and still let the pronghorn get through. And it's all voluntary. So if a landowner says, I like my 5th strand of barbed wire fence, okay, we'll move on to someone else. You have another question?
I have a list of
Let's go.
How does this supplement deal with the commission?
It does not.
Let's see the 57 million is a huge increase, but you think that's enough for the long term?
Do I think it's enough for the long term?
Long-term conservation. Down the road with the rate of extinction and endangered species being listed.
Yeah, honestly, I don't. But in the real world, like in the political environment, a big 57 million chunk is a lot better than a 0 million chunk. So I'll take the 57, I'll take the 1.3 billion and worry about that in the